The Galactic Empire had every reason to believe that victory was theirs. For years, they had fought against humanity, pushing them back further and further, with each battle bringing them closer to total domination. The Empire's technology was far superior: high-energy weapons, ships that could warp across galaxies in seconds, and armored soldiers equipped with the most advanced defense systems in the universe. To them, humans were primitive and weak, barely worthy of their attention. In the latest battle, the Empire's commanders stood proudly, watching their forces march forward. Rows of towering mechanized troops stomped through the battlefield, blasting anything in their way. Human cities crumbled beneath the Empire's heavy artillery, and their fleets were outmaneuvered in space, one by one. It seemed like the humans had no chance. Every encounter left human forces scattered and broken, fleeing for survival. The alien commanders gathered around their control stations, observing the war from a distance. On the screens, they could see the devastation their troops were causing. "Pathetic," one commander scoffed, his tentacles tapping the side of the table. "Humans are nothing but insects before our might." Another commander nodded, a wide grin spreading across his reptilian face. "They should have surrendered long ago. Look at them, fleeing like cowards." For the Empire, the humans were little more than an obstacle in their quest to conquer more worlds. They saw humans as stubborn creatures, holding on to outdated ideas of freedom and resistance. It amused them that humans thought they could stand up against a force as mighty as theirs. Human soldiers tried to put up a fight, but their weapons were no match for the Empire's advanced arsenal. Plasma cannons, energy shields, and precision drones cut down human forces without mercy. It was a slaughter, and the alien commanders barely even considered it a war anymore. It felt like a slow, inevitable march toward human extinction. As the battle raged on, the Empire's communication channels were filled with victory reports. "We've secured Sector 7, one officer reported with confidence. "Human defenses have fallen. They are retreating once again." The Empire celebrated. Victory was just a matter of time. They believed they had pushed humanity to the brink of collapse. The alien leaders planned their next move, discussing how they would divide Earth's resources among themselves. For them, humanity's defeat was certain. After all, no one could stand against their technology. But as the human forces pulled back, something didn't sit right with some of the Empire's officers. There was something strange about the humans' retreat. They weren't panicking or desperate. In fact, their movements seemed calculated, as if they were regrouping for something bigger. "Why aren't they surrendering?" one officer asked, puzzled. "They've lost everything." The commanders brushed it off. "Let them run," one said dismissively. "They have nowhere to go. They'll soon be wiped out." The humans, however, had other plans. Their retreat was not a sign of defeat, but part of a strategy the Empire couldn't see coming. For too long, the alien Empire had relied on their superior technology, underestimating humanity's creativity and resolve. They had won every battle by crushing the enemy with advanced weapons, but they had forgotten that wars were not always won with the latest gadgets. Deep within the human forces, something was changing. As they regrouped, their leaders spoke of an ancient tactic, one that the aliens would never expect. Humanity wasn't done fighting. They were just getting ready for their next move. The Empire remained confident, unaware that this was just the calm before the storm. They couldn't know that soon. They would face something far more dangerous than human technology. They would face human tradition, human willpower, and a weapon older than any technology they had ever seen. This war was far from over. The Galactic Empire had grown comfortable with their easy victories against humanity. After countless battles where humans barely stood a chance, the alien commanders were confident that total domination was near. They had destroyed human cities, wiped out armies, and taken control of Earth's outer colonies. For the Empire, it was just a matter of time before the human race would finally submit. But then, something changed. Reports began to come in from the front lines. Strange, confusing reports. Human forces, once scattered and retreating, were reappearing. They were gathering in larger numbers, but the strangest thing wasn't their sudden resurgence. It was their weapons. "They're using swords," an Empire scout reported, disbelief in his voice. "Swords?" The alien commander responded, confused. "You mean primitive blades?" "Yes, Commander," the scout confirmed. "Their soldiers are carrying swords. No energy weapons, no guns. Just swords." The alien commander laughed. "This must be a joke. Humans have lost their minds. In the Empire's War Council, the reports were met with laughter and confusion. The idea that humans, known for their basic technology compared to the Empire, would abandon their firearms for swords seemed ridiculous. The Empire's forces were equipped with plasma rifles, drones, and energy shields. What could a sword possibly do against that kind of firepower? "Let them bring their swords," the commanders mocked. "We'll crush them like we always have." But the next battle proved to be unlike anything the Empire had ever experienced. The humans marched onto the battlefield, swords gleaming in their hands. Their movements were precise and coordinated, nothing like the chaotic retreats the Empire had grown used to seeing. At first, the alien soldiers smirked at the sight, ready to obliterate the human forces like they had done so many times before. When the fighting began, however, the Empire's forces quickly realized something was wrong. Very wrong. The human soldiers, despite wielding simple swords, moved with extraordinary speed and skill. They charged into battle, cutting through the Empire's mechanized troops with alarming ease. Their swords weren't ordinary blades. They glowed with a strange energy, slicing through the advanced armor of the Empire's troops, as if it were nothing. Within minutes, the battlefield was chaos. The Empire's soldiers, trained in long-range combat and heavily reliant on their advanced weapons, struggled to fight back in the close quarters that the humans forced them into. Their plasma rifles were nearly useless in such tight spaces, and their energy shields failed to block the powerful sword strikes. "What is happening?" One alien officer yelled over the comms, panic creeping into his voice. "We're being overrun!" The alien commanders, watching from a distance, couldn't believe their eyes. How were humans winning? They were using swords, weapons from a time long past. It didn't make sense. They had crushed humanity with superior technology for years, and now suddenly they were losing. On the ground, human warriors fought like beings possessed. They were no longer the desperate survivors the Empire had mocked. They were disciplined, focused, and brutal in their tactics. Every alien soldier that tried to flee was cut down before they could escape, and every advanced machine the Empire deployed was sliced apart by the humans' glowing swords. The alien soldiers, once fearless in the face of technological superiority, began to break. They had never trained for this kind of combat. They were used to long-range battles, fighting from the safety of distance with weapons that could disintegrate an enemy in a single shot. But none of that mattered here. In this close combat, humans had the advantage and the Empire's troops were completely unprepared. By the time the battle ended, the field was littered with the wreckage of the Empire's once mighty forces. The humans stood victorious, their swords raised in triumph. The alien commanders, watching from their ships, were left speechless. "They beat us? With swords?" one commander whispered in disbelief. The sudden shift in the war had shaken the Empire to its core. For the first time, the aliens realized that their advanced technology wasn't enough to guarantee victory. The humans, with their simple swords, had turned the tide of battle, and the Empire no longer felt as invincible as they once did. What had once seemed like an easy conquest was now turning into a nightmare. And the Empire, for all its arrogance, had no idea what was coming next. The Galactic Empire was in shock. The humans, once seen as helpless and primitive, had suddenly become a serious threat. Their unexpected use of swords had turned the tide of battle, leaving the Empire scrambling to understand how such ancient weapons could overpower their advanced technology. The alien commanders had no answers. Their once confident troops were retreating, confused and afraid. Across the battlefield, human forces were now advancing with renewed strength. Their swords, glowing with strange energy, cut through the Empire's machines like a hot knife through butter. The aliens had never faced anything like this before. Their long-range plasma weapons and energy shields were useless in the face of such direct, up-close combat. In their warships, the alien commanders watched with growing concern. Every battle report was the same. Human soldiers charging in with swords, defeating the Empire's forces in brutal close combat. "How are they doing this?" one alien officer demanded, his voice rising in panic. "We have superior firepower, better armor, more advanced weapons. How are we losing?" The answer lay in the way humans fought. They didn't rely on technology alone. They were adaptable, creative, and relentless. Unlike the Empire's soldiers, who had grown too dependent on their machines, humans had a history of hand-to-hand combat that stretched back thousands of years. It was a tradition the aliens had underestimated. On the ground, the alien troops struggled to keep up. Their battle droids, designed for long-range warfare, malfunctioned in the chaos of close combat. The humans moved quickly, their swords slashing through alien armor before the Empire's soldiers even had time to react. Plasma rifles, normally so deadly, became clumsy and slow when used at close range. The aliens' bulky armor, designed to protect against energy weapons, only slowed them down, making them easy targets for the swift human warriors. In one brutal encounter, an elite squad of alien soldiers, heavily armed and protected by the finest energy shields, found themselves surrounded by human forces. The aliens, confident in their superior gear, opened fire. But the humans dodged their attacks with ease, closing the distance between them in seconds. Before the aliens could react, the humans were upon them, swords flashing. The energy shields, once thought impenetrable, were sliced apart by the strange energy radiating from the human blades. Within minutes, the elite squad was wiped out. What kind of swords are these? One alien soldier gasped before falling. The aliens had no answers. The humans had turned their own battlefields against them, forcing close combat in every encounter. And in close combat, humans excelled. They had trained for centuries in the art of war, from sword fighting to martial arts. Even with their advanced technology, the alien soldiers were no match for the human warriors' speed, precision, and deadly skill with a blade. As more and more alien soldiers fell, panic spread throughout the Empire's ranks. The once confident troops, used to fighting from a safe distance, were now terrified of engaging the humans up close. Alien commanders scrambled to adapt, ordering their soldiers to stay at a distance and fire from afar. But the humans always found a way to close in, breaking through the alien lines with ruthless efficiency. "Fall back!" one alien officer shouted, as another group of soldiers was overrun by human forces. "We can't fight them like this." But it was too late. The humans had discovered their weakness and were exploiting it with deadly precision. The alien forces, so proud of their technological superiority, were falling apart under the pressure of this new kind of warfare. They had never trained for close combat. They had never expected to need to, but the humans had forced them into a fight they weren't prepared for, and the results were devastating. As the alien forces continued to retreat, the Empire's commanders faced a terrifying reality. Their technology was no longer enough to guarantee victory. The humans had found a way to level the playing field, and now the Empire was losing battles they once thought were won. The power of close combat had turned the war in humanity's favor. And for the first time, the Empire's leaders realized they were dealing with an enemy far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The alien Empire was in disbelief. Their once invincible army had been humbled by the humans, who fought with nothing more than swords and an unbreakable will. Every battle now ended in the same way, the humans charging in, cutting down alien soldiers in close combat and leaving behind a trail of destruction. The Empire's advanced technology, which had once dominated the battlefield, was powerless against the fierce resolve of humanity. The alien commanders gathered in their war room, faces grim as they discussed their next move. The humans had proven far more difficult to defeat than they had ever imagined. What they had dismissed as primitive and weak had turned into a force they couldn't control. "How are they still standing?" one commander growled, his clawed fingers gripping the edge of the table. "We've destroyed their cities, their fleets, and still they fight." "They fight because they are human," another commander replied, shaking his head. "They will not surrender. They will fight to the last breath, no matter the odds." It was something the Empire had never truly understood. The humans were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for something deeper. They fought for their homes, their families, their freedom. The aliens, in their arrogance, had thought that crushing humanity's cities would break their spirit. But instead, it had only made the humans more determined. On the battlefield, this resolve was clear. The alien soldiers, tired and fearful of the humans' close combat tactics, were growing weaker with each fight. They had lost the will to engage, knowing that the humans would stop at nothing to defeat them. Meanwhile, the human warriors seemed to grow stronger with every battle. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, they pressed on, driven by a determination the Empire could not match. In one of the war's most intense battles, a human commander named Captain Sarah Mallory led her forces into the heart of the alien invasion. Her troops were outnumbered, their equipment outdated compared to the aliens' advanced weapons. But Mallory stood tall, her eyes blazing with the same fire that had kept humanity fighting all this time. "We don't fight for victory," she told her soldiers as they prepared for battle. "We fight because we must. We fight for each other, for every life lost, and for every child who will never see tomorrow. We will not stop, not until they're gone or we are." Her words sparked a new energy in her troops. They were tired, they were outgunned, but they were human, and that meant they would never give up. As the battle began, the humans charged forward, swords raised high. The alien forces, expecting another easy win with their plasma rifles, were quickly overwhelmed by the humans' sheer determination. The battle was brutal. Alien weapons fired relentlessly and human casualties were high. But every time one of their comrades fell, the humans fought harder. They moved with purpose, cutting through the alien ranks with their glowing swords, showing no fear, no hesitation. Each swing of the blade carried the weight of their resolve, the unshakable belief that they could win, no matter how impossible it seemed. The aliens, who had never fought an enemy so relentless, began to break. They had relied on their superior technology for so long that they had forgotten how to fight when the enemy refused to back down. The human forces pushed them back, driving deeper into their ranks with every strike. At one point in the battle, Captain Mallory faced off against an alien general. The alien, towering over her, was armed with a massive plasma cannon. But Mallory didn't flinch. She dodged the alien's blasts and closed the distance between them. With a powerful swing of her sword, she struck down the alien general, sending a message to the Empire: humanity would not be defeated. As the battle ended, the humans stood victorious once again. The alien forces, despite their technological superiority, had been forced to retreat. But the humans knew this was only the beginning. Their resolve was stronger than ever, and they were prepared to fight until the very end. The Empire had underestimated humanity's strength, but it wasn't their weapons or their strategy that made them powerful. It was their unyielding spirit, their resolve to protect what mattered most. And now, that resolve was driving the aliens back, piece by piece. The war was far from over, but the humans had shown that they were not just survivors. They were warriors. And as long as their hearts burned with determination, the Empire would never truly defeat them. The war that had once seemed unwinnable for humanity was nearing its final chapter. The Galactic Empire, with all its advanced technology and overwhelming firepower, had been brought to its knees. The humans, fighting with nothing more than their swords and unbreakable spirit, had turned the tide of the conflict. What the aliens hadn't understood was that victory wasn't always about the latest technology or the most powerful weapons. For humans, victory came from something much older, something rooted in their history, their tradition. As the final battle approached, the alien commanders were desperate. They had tried every tactic, every weapon, and still the humans fought back. What they had mocked as primitive, the use of swords and close combat, had become their greatest threat. The Empire's soldiers, once confident and ruthless, were now filled with fear every time they faced the humans. "How did it come to this?" one alien commander muttered, staring at the holographic map. "We've lost every major engagement. Our soldiers fear the humans as if they're invincible. They fight like warriors of old," another commander replied, his voice filled with frustration. "They've tapped into something we don't understand." That something was tradition. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years, long before they ever reached the stars. Their history was filled with tales of honor, sacrifice, and courage. The sword, while outdated in most modern battles, represented that tradition. It was a symbol of humanity's past, of a time when battles were fought face to face, where survival depended on skill, strength, and will. In the final battle, this tradition would prove decisive. The Empire's forces gathered in one last effort to crush humanity once and for all. Their ships hovered over Earth's surface, ready to unleash a final wave of destruction. The alien soldiers, though demoralized, were given strict orders: eliminate the humans at all costs. There could be no retreat, no surrender. But humanity had other plans. On the ground, the human forces stood ready. They had come a long way from their early defeats. Their ranks were filled with soldiers who had fought in brutal close combat, who had survived the worst the Empire could throw at them. They had learned, adapted, and most importantly, they had embraced the power of their traditions. Leading them was Captain Sarah Mallory, her sword shining in the sunlight. She had become a symbol of human resilience, a warrior who had taken down the Empire's best and stood tall in the face of overwhelming odds. "Today we fight not just for survival," she told her troops. "We fight for everything we've built, for the traditions that make us who we are." They thought our swords were weak. They thought we were weak. But today we show them the strength of our history, of what it means to be human. The alien forces descended, their ships darkening the sky. But this time the humans weren't running. They weren't hiding. They charged forward, swords raised, their battle cries echoing across the land. The aliens unleashed their plasma weapons, but the humans had learned how to evade them. They dodged, weaved, and closed the distance, just as they had done in every battle before. When the two forces met, the clash was brutal. Alien soldiers, armed with their advanced rifles and shields, found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer ferocity of the humans' attack. The glowing swords cut through their defenses, and soon the Empire's forces were in disarray. For all their technology, the aliens had never understood the power of human tradition. The sword, while simple, carried with it a legacy of countless battles, of warriors who had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a symbol of everything humans had endured and overcome. In the chaos of battle, Captain Mallory faced off against the alien Supreme Commander. The alien towered over her, his armor gleaming with advanced tech. But Mallory wasn't intimidated. With swift, precise movements, she dodged his energy blasts and brought her sword down in a single, powerful strike. The alien commander fell, his forces crumbling soon after. As the last of the alien ships retreated, the battlefield fell silent. The humans had won. But their victory wasn't just in defeating the Empire. It was a victory of tradition over technology, of heart over machines. The humans had proven that their strength lay not just in their weapons, but in their spirit, their history, and their unwavering resolve. Standing among her troops, Captain Mallory looked out at the horizon. The war was over, but the lessons learned would last forever. Humanity had fought not just for survival, but for the values that had defined them for millennia. And in the end, it was those values, honor, courage, and tradition, that had brought them victory.